Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today let's go over a premium medium database question that I just solved on my own. So I'm super happy about this and I'm very glad that I was able to come up with my own solution to this question without any assistance. So let's go over it and let me show you how I did it. This is question 1205 titled Monthly Transactions 2. Okay, so basically you have two tables, transactions and chargebacks. You want to return a data frame with 6 different columns. Let's expand this just to make it clearer. And you want to find for each month and country. So just by that sentence, it should probably tell you that there's supposed to be a composite key. How many approved transactions? So counting how many approved and chargeback. And we also want to exclude rows with all zeros, basically meaning that there's only a decline for that composite month and country. And for the chargebacks table, notice that this ID here maps to this column here. So this is going to be a foreign key to this. And so if we're trying to look for the country of this chargeback transaction, we would look at the ID here and then use that. If we're looking for the amount of this chargeback transaction, again, we're going to be looking at the ID and amount. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by gathering all the information that we need. Let's go ahead and map the ID to the country and the amount. So let's call this country map and amount map. So two dictionaries for I, T, and enumerate transactions, and let's call this ID. Let's call this ID. So probably not a good name for that. Let's just call this T. And CMAP of T is equal to transactions country of I. Okay, and then the same thing, A map of T is transactions of amount of I. Okay, so key value for all of these. Cool. So that's going to make our life a little bit easier down the line as we try to figure out from the chargebacks table, because we need a query, we need to loop through every row in both tables, right? Okay, so for the current ID and country, so let's go ahead and create another dictionary. Is default dict of type list. So, okay. So for IT and enumerate transactions, transdate. Notice here, we only care about the month. So that's going to be the precision. We don't care about the day itself. So this is the section that we need. So let's call this month. Let's just call this M is string T dot split of 0 up to 7, right? So let's print M. And let's also print the current country. Let's call this country is transactions country of I. So the composite key of the ID is actually going to be the month and the country. So the month and the country. So we're interested in the state of the transaction and the amount, right? So let's say D of M and country dot append the transactions state of I and then the amount, right? So when we're looking at, let's go down. When we're looking at this column, we're going to be looking at this if it's approved and counting how many of those are in all the sublists of this particular composite key. And then we're just going to be adding that if it corresponds to either approved or chargeback, right? Okay, so, and we're going to ignore all the rows with just declined. So we have to do the same thing in the chargebacks table as well. Let's call this trans date. Again, the precision of the date doesn't change, so it's still by the month. So 0 up to 7. Let's print M. And so now this is where things get a little challenging because we want the particular country is going to be CMAP of whatever the ID is, right? So let's call this CID is chargebacks trans ID of I. So as we're looping through, let's say this row, we're looking at this ID, putting it into the dictionary called CMAP and getting that value spit back out. So let's call this country. Okay, so cool. So we have the month and the country, and then we want to also include that. So let's say D of M country dot append. Again, we want to know the current state. The thing though is, yeah, so we do want to know the state. Okay, so let's call this state. Another dictionary. So state of T is transactions state of I. Okay, so we want to know the state, which is just going to be the current state is state of the CID, right? Everything is from the CID. So let's print C state. Let's not worry about this for now. So C state is equal to state of CID. Okay, so about the country. Let's see. Something is off. Did we not name this? No, we did name this state, but we got the ordering wrong, it looks like. Okay, cool. So now it looks like we have the state, which is not correct, it looks like here, because oh, the state is always just going to be chargeback, right? That is important for this table because this can't have a state anything other than chargeback. Cool. So that's why the chargeback count is 1. And then now for the chargeback amount. So notice how this is 5,000, even though the state says approved here. So we're using this as a proxy almost. So let's call this chargeback amount is going to be, now we make use of a map of CID. So CA. Okay, cool. So now we can just D of M country dot append chargeback and CA. Because we don't care about any of the other columns. So the only relevant columns are this and these. So not these two because it cannot be approved from the chargebacks table, right? Cool. So now let's loop through our dictionary. Let's call this now. And let's print K and now and see if we're on the right track. Okay, let's get rid of this. Okay, so it looks like approved, declined. So, okay, so 1 approved, 1 chargeback, 2,000 or 1,000 and 2,000. Perfect. So let's go ahead and make a data frame now and return that just so we can sort of see if we're on the right track. Cool. So we have more than one test case here. That's good. So notice here how these two are not in the result. So Let's call this key, and for n in now, key.add n of 0. So for each sublist, we only care about this. So if key is equal to declined only, as I said, then we continue because we don't care about those rows as it says here, with only ignore rows with all zeros, right? Cool. So now you can see there's this 4. So 2BB, 3CB, 2CA, 5AA. Perfect. So awesome. So now we can go ahead and get the 4 columns. Let's call this month, country, approved count, approved amount, chargeback count, chargeback amount. And these 4 are going to start at 0 for now because we're going to calculate them, but the month and the country can be K0, K of 1 from the keys, K0, K1, and then let's start to calculate the quantity and the total amounts. So for n and now, we're looping again. So if n of 0 is equal to chargeback, then chargeback count plus equals to 1, chargeback amount plus equals to n1, right? Because I said this is going to be the frequency and this is going to be the actual amount. So if n of 0 is equal to approved, then same thing, AC plus equals to 1, and amount plus equals to n1. So now let's print MC, ACAA, CCCA. Okay, so awesome. That seems to line up with what we're seeing. Cool. Seems to line up with the grid that we're seeing, except maybe some ordering needs to be sorted, but it says return it in any order. So I'm going to take them for their word there and go ahead and gather the results and submit it. So answer.append MCACAA and then let's go ahead and create 6 lists for 6 columns. So for v and answer, a.append v0, the country column, the approved count column, approved amounts, chargeback count, chargeback amount. Cool. So now let's go ahead and set same thing, month and their values, country and their values. Let's just do this for now, just to check to make sure that the columns are correct. Okay, so looks like we might have some ordering issues, but that's fine. Let's call this approved counts. Let's keep continuing. Approved amount, everything in order. Chargeback counts, chargeback amount. Okay, let's run this. Okay, so cool. So really does mean any order. Perfect. Okay, let's submit this. And there you go. Passes all test cases. So again, I'm super happy that I was able to come up with my own solution to this question without any help and solve it completely on my own. So that's it for this video, and thank you for watching.